All the things that you were saying are not this talk. I truly don't have a product to sell. I do have a stock talk. It's my books, or how to be a barrister, maybe to school kids or something. It's not any of that. So I don't have a product. It definitely isn't my stock talk. I have prepared it. It's on one of your cards. So, sorry, Celia. But I'm sure you would say each to their own, and if you're slightly eccentric and a bit different, sometimes that voice can come through. And that's my only excuse. I basically said to Joe, I came a couple of months ago, and I said, it isn't to sell anything. I don't mean that in a bad way if you are. It's more if you're trying to work out where I'm coming from. I was a barrister for 10 years, and my dream came true, and I got a book deal to write novels with Bloomsbury, and I moved down here from Minehead originally, and that's sort of officially what I do. But how I was able to afford to give up the bar really and move down here and not be worrying about how much my advance is going to be for the next book was online businesses, and I just thought it's something that perhaps I could add partly from my own experience and partly just to throw out a question as to how it might help you guys, and it's just how much can you do online, and don't be scared of it, basically. And if I talk about my own experiences, it couldn't be less the sort of beating your chest and saying, this is brilliant, aren't I good, and copy this. It's quite the opposite. It's wide-eyed wonder at the fact that I'm now living by the sea, not having to, I love being a barrister, I love going and having an argument, but not having to traipse around the courts every day, that I can potter down and go for a surf, I can do some writing, and I've got a business it's not running itself, businesses don't, but that it's up online. I'm not having to go into an office. This is one of the rare occasions that I'll don a suit. I'm quite happy to, but I'm not rebelling against the bar, but it's the idea, and I'll open it up in a minute when I've got a few points just to stimulate ideas. But it's the idea that even going from the most traditional of professions like the bar, that there are always opportunities for everybody. And it wasn't that I was particularly, ingenious or anything like that. I'd spent 10 years in a very staid profession, and in a very unglamorous side of the bar, it was doing personal injury, just day in, day out, car cases, one day for one side, one day for the other. So it was nothing special, and it's just to say, whatever your business is now, I would challenge anybody, even if it's a pure online business, that you couldn't be doing more online, because our businesses are now purely online. And yet we're still trying to brainstorm the whole time. So briefly, the two businesses that I did, one was basically, it's called CPD Webinars. It trained lawyers online with webinars, online seminars, basically, videos. And that replaced or competed with people who were, lawyers have to do their training, and it was going and basically people who would normally spend money, lots of money, going to hotels were able to sit in their offices and carry on billing out their hours, so probably the boss liked that. More than the employees, and they were able to get their points. And our other business is an online law journal. Traditionally, you've got all the lovely leather-bound books and what have you in chambers, and this is online. And it's a law journal that barristers write. Barristers presented these webinars as well, and we kind of distributed them and then sold the subscriptions in the webinars to solicitors mostly, and the same with the law journal. We got a free newsletter, but that really markets the law journal. So they were the two businesses. One of them sold last year to Thomson Reuters, which was, by all means, if there are questions on, what about the sale, or anyone's thinking of sale, please, very happy to answer questions on that, because it was an extraordinary experience. Suddenly this huge billion-dollar company coming and approaching little old us. It felt like little old us, but it was big business meeting us in the middle. So there was that, and then we've got us, and that's now gone, and then we've got our other business there. And from those two, there are a few sort of key points. They're not all beginning with P. Well, I thought I was wanted to answer you with Qs. Quality, quietness, but they didn't go with the talk. But so I can't even say mind your P's and Q's. But just a very few things, just to stimulate ideas. But all around the single topic of how can our business do more online? And I say that rhetorically in the sense of should we be doing more online? The answer is with all the force, and it's definitely with the passion of just sharing it and saying, truly, everyone can be doing more online, because we're in a stage at the moment that is like And it sounds going into sort of hyperbole, but it is like the Industrial Revolution. It truly is. And it's still the very start. It's not the end of history. It's right at the beginning of the curve still. And there is this huge shift in wealth going on. And it's not just the Facebooks or the Googles that we hear that are worth billions. It's on the small level. It's the companies that maybe were running CPD seminars, in hotels and printing off huge amounts of printing for all their leaflets and everything, to suddenly a much smaller, much lighter company that can be run from down in Devon, doing, and Somerset, where one of my business partners is, where you're just doing it online. So there's this shift in wealth quietly going on all over the place, but it's just at the beginning of the curve. So that's the first point. Look for where you are. And it leads on to the next point, is do not be scared of it. Because there's this kind of black magic of the internet where all SEO or all social media or blogs or this, and each one of those is first of all some code word for you're either in or you're not, in terms of, even the lingo. And do not be scared of it. All that the internet is doing, and this is part of the message, because I'm just saying get on there, is it's doing what we already do. So blogs are simply a very quick, very cheap way of publishing. They're fabulous. Twitter, I think, was mentioned. I think someone mentioned Twitter earlier, anyway, and that's just like a conversation. But it's a public conversation. It's obviously got different dynamics, but it's stuff that we can all deal with. It's a bit like Celia and we were talking about, of going back to your own voice. So you might go in and you get all this great marketing talk about social media or whatever it is. But actually, it's getting your authentic business, but how to do it best online. So that's the big thing there. Look for niche markets is another big point, because you mentioned the long tail. When you've got access suddenly either to a global market or just to the English market, it's not that you have to always be driving down a country lane any longer. You can actually be driving down an internet country lane by just sending out a friendly email to different people that might be in Scotland. So metaphorically, you might be doing that, but in a way that it makes so much more possible. And I say it because I know that so many people, when I talk to people locally, are not doing it, or their businesses that they work for aren't doing it, and they're brilliant businesses that are far better than the one we had that we sold, but they're not now going online. And that will be fine probably for the next 5 or 10 years. It's not some doomsday scenario. It's the opposite. It's just you're missing out on a huge opportunity. It's a bit like planting a flag on the moon, or like in the Wild West where they were all sprinting and planting flags to get their piece of property. That's the case with businesses now, because we definitely did it with webinars. Once you've planted a flag and said, we are the webinars people, other ones will come in, but you were there first. Even if you're there 10th, it's better than being the last in the queue by 2020. So it so isn't the end of history on that. In terms of demystifying the whole blogs and social media, apparently you talked about Twitter at the last one. I'm not particularly fussed about that, but look at it. I mean, the baby barrister character I invented, and it's wonderful. The internet, you can just invent things. It's just pure creativity, and suddenly it can be worth, I've discovered, lots of money. But also with characters. I mean, this baby barrister character of the books, he's got 12,000 Twitter followers. I mean, that's wonderful. It's extraordinary, and you get so much great feedback from them. But he's an invented character, and everyone knows he is, but they still follow him. So don't ignore it. But I would say, Twitter's maybe 5% of your marketing, Facebook another 5%. Blogs, I would say, and this is the final one, just to open your eyes to search engines. And we talked about Google. Obviously, everyone knows about that, because anything anyone buys these days, well, not absolutely everything, but most things, you'll at least check it on Google, on your phone or on your computer, or someone else will have checked it for you. And it's extraordinary that despite that, it's that mental shift of going, well, hang on then. It's like if all the other shops were on the high street and yours was in the farthest back lane, then you would definitely go, well, hang on, I want to be on the high street and noticed. And if that's the case, don't just get on Google, look at how you can work with Google, what matters with Google, it actually, I think, there are lots of, things people do to improve it, but the biggest thing of all is really great authentic content on there. And that's where blogging can work, making friends with other people online and swapping links. Google basically rewards good content, and then there are the tricks, but sometimes they can fall foul. Whereas good quality content that's the most consistent way of finding that you'll succeed on Google. And also sign up with Google local businesses, Google Maps, all these things. They're just classic, easy things to do that most people understandably go, what are you on about? So if any of that means what are you on about, go and Google it tomorrow or just ask someone. But I've probably done my 5 minutes now, but the key thing is ask that single question. What more can I do online that we're not already doing? I'm sure most of you are online a bit. Even farmers or something like that, even they could be doing some stuff online. You know, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's talking to their distributors or whatever it is. How much more can you do online and how will you do it? So there you go.